All right, so we know in order to have an inverse, we have to pass the horizontal line test, and regular y equals sine of x does not pass the horizontal line test because regular sine of x goes on forever, right? Doesn't pass the horizontal line test. So all mathematicians got together and said use between negative pi over 2 and pi over 2, and then we'll make an inverse sign. And so this inverse sine of x, if I use between negative pi over 2 and pi over 2 on the sine function, that turns out to be the y values on the arcsine function. So what that translates to is when I'm trying to find the angle that satisfies this, I take the sine of both sides, right? Sine of inverse sine of root 3 over 2 is sine of theta. The sine and inverse sine cancel. So I'm looking for the angle. There will be one angle because of the restriction that will make sine equal to root 3 over 2. So this angle restriction means I have to be picking between negative pi over 2 and pi over 2. So the one angle that makes sine root 3 over 2 would be pi over 3. So there is no plus 2k pi when you start off with the inverse sine. So let's do this one. So let's just set it equal to theta because that's what I'm trying to find. What is the angle that makes this work? So if I take sine of both sides, I get to this. So now I'm thinking between here and here. What angle is it that gives me negative 1/2? So I want to come down here just a little bit. So I want to say theta is equal to negative pi over 6. It is wrong to say theta is 11 pi over 6 because that would be going all the way over here, and the restriction says the angle has to be in between here and here. So get very comfortable with this. This idea, these little bits of problems will come up all year long. Okay, arctangents, the same restriction. Arctangent is between negative pi over 2 and pi over 2, so that makes it kind of easy. Use the same restriction. So I'm thinking, what is the angle that when I take the tangent of it, I get root 3? So I think in terms of sines and cosines. So that means the sine has to be root 3 over 2, and the cosine has to be 1/2. So sine over the cosine. So when does that happen? They either both have to be negative or both positive. I only have the both positive option, so that means the one angle is pi over 3. Remember, there's one angle on these answers, no 2k pi. All right, so this one here, if I set it equal to theta, negative 1 is tangent of theta. So I'm thinking on the unit circle between here and here, when the sine is equal to the cosine, but they're opposite signs. So that's down here, so that's theta is negative pi over 4, not theta is 7 pi over 4. Make sure you're really comfortable with that you've got this restriction down. So arc cosine, this is one of the easier ones. It is unfortunately the one that comes up the least amount. It's 0 to pi. So if I set this angle equal to theta, negative root 3 over 2 is cosine of theta. So when does that happen? So that's going to be theta is back here at 5 pi over 6. I set this equal to theta. When does cosine of theta equal negative 1? That's pi.